Well, joining me now for reaction from Canada's business community to the Prime Minister's announcement on border measures is Jean Charest. Monsieur Charest is a former Quebec Premier, former federal minister and leader of the Federal Conservative Party. He's now an international trade lawyer and a member of the Task Force on Public Health and the Canada-U.S. Border. Monsieur Charest, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Martin.
I'd like to get your reaction to what you heard from the Prime Minister today.
Well, it's disappointing in the sense that we're just going to prolong for another month, and at the point at which we are now, with a high percentage of people vaccinated on both sides of the border, and with people being completely vaccinated, more and more of them, which means 2 vaccines, I think we should start reopening. We don't have to do it completely in one single swoop, but there should be an allowance for people who have residences on both sides, who have businesses, and now's the time to start to do it gradually. I think what we're concerned about is that we're not clear on whether there's a plan to reopen the border, and that's starting to become a real concern for businesses on both sides.
Okay, well, let's look at that. We do know that the Prime Minister's alluded to Monday or sometime after Monday. There will be more details on one thing that the Health Minister has mentioned, and that is double vaccinated Canadians returning to Canada or coming back to Canada would be able to skip quarantine measures. That supposedly is going to be spelled out, but there's supposedly going to be there's not much mention of much more. Some essential workers who already are crossing the border. What do you make of that, of what we do know will be announced?
Well, what we've had is, a monthly continuation from month to month, and merchandise has been traveling, which is good, and that's worked fairly well. Essential workers, truckers, that's worked well. People who are delivering essential services. But now, after a year, Martin, there's an effect on people and businesses. There's a cumulative effect of closing the border. And I'm thinking in particular the tourism industry, hospitality industry, who are going to suffer a lot from the fact that we're not even able to open, for people who are vaccinated, have 2 doses, who have houses, that's the kind of thing that I think business would like to see. The government starting to move in that direction as opposed to just continuing month after month of closing the border.
There's some suggestion, the Prime Minister talked about sort of two measures here. One, immediate measures concerning, we think, just Canadians returning to Canada. And another measure, which he says he's putting into the fall for people with double vaccination. What do you think is taking so long for the government to develop a system? He was given a hard time by some reporters at the press conference today. What's taking so long, from what you're hearing from business people, obviously are being consulted as well, what's taking so long getting a comprehensive double vaccination certification system in Canada?
Well, and you're asking a very good question, especially if we compare ourselves to other jurisdictions, either in Europe or elsewhere, where double people who have had the complete vaccinations, 2 of them, are allowed to come in. And different countries within the European Union have a variance on the rules, but generally, if you have those 2 vaccinations, you're allowed to go in and not have too much of a quarantine if you test negative. So we don't know why. What we do know, there's an election campaign on the horizon, Martin. I'm guessing, like everyone else, that this campaign may be started up in August with a vote in September. And I'm guessing maybe the Prime Minister just doesn't want to have this as an issue during the election campaign.
You wouldn't think, though, that he might want to have some good news, like more widespread border crossing travel?
Well, I would hope so. But he's had a lot of pressure from the Ford side of government saying, you should tighten up, even taking out ads on TV saying you should tighten up the border. I don't know what their sentiment is. Well, I'm told that the majority of provinces, Martin, are now favorable to the opening of the border. And keep in mind, in the case of Canada, 80% of our population lives within 100 kilometers of the American border. So we are very dependent, and this on American tourism. And this is the sector in our economy that has suffered the most from this pandemic and the shutdown of our economy.
You alluded to it. Some people are saying they wonder whether the government does have an organized plan for this fall, or whether things seem to be stalling.
Well, they seem to be going very gradually. It would be a good idea to have a plan. and to put it out there and to establish conditions. If the Prime Minister says, listen, we'll do this, this, and this, if 75% of people have a first vaccine, and then if we reach the milestone of 40% who have 2 vaccines, we'll do this or that, that would work. And it would give, I think, businesses and Canadians some guidance as far as the border is concerned. In the meantime, again, there's a big, things we can't measure. I mean, the cumulative effect of families being separated, couples separated, friends, businesses. I mean, some of the challenges and the suffering it is causing is having a long-term effect on a lot of people. And that's why we need a plan.
Okay, Mr. Charest, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you, Martin. Bye-bye.